labor. I mean, a simple skepticism would be easy. You say, I don't know whether I know, maybe I don't know. But to know that you don't know means to say that you have knowledge. So that implied in this is a standard of knowledge, which has something to do, obviously, with this question of how does he go about doing this? He starts talking to people. He takes their opinions seriously. And their opinions are contradictory, and when they're contradictory, that proves they don't know. Something like the exercise, of the principle of contradiction. You say knowledge of ignorance. Now, but let's first, before we go further, we look in a more detailed way at the text. He goes to three categories of people: the poets, in this order, the politicians, the statesmen, and the artisans. Why does he go to those three? Is that the list you would make up? And why in that order? Yeah, people like Homer. Yeah, where do we know about the whole from? The amazing thing is we know about the whole. Everybody knows about the whole. Everybody has a vision of the whole, no matter how primitive the society. And it's always in myths of some kind, and that's where it always begins. They know what the winds and the rains mean, and the lightning, and how a cow should be taken, and various things. There's a whole world. And that comes from authoritative, in very primitive societies, oral stories, in written things. The poets are the ones who know the whole. So they tell us particularly the story is about the gods. A poet would have to be half Homer and half Bible, because it plays the kind of role if we were to understand its parallel. So if he proves that the poets don't know anything, what's the larger implication of that? It means to say, already in a kind of admission of guilt, that the kind of skepticism is emerging, or kind of radical critique, that we have guidance, we have a worldview, but that worldview is based upon no principles of knowledge. And that's a very, very radical position. We'll have to see by what right he does that. In a way, that's a sort of pure rationalism. But it's the problem of it in the political context is taken clearly here. And the question is, can you find any substitutes for that, since men have to have a horizon, have to have an orientation? You can say this is what Nietzsche says Socrates did. He destroyed the gentleman's beautiful vision. Here he is in his activity of horizon destroying. All right, the second, why the politicians next?
Well, they have a reputation for listening. Who are the people who might be knowing about anything? The poet, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Homer, the educated Greeks. Politicians obviously claim to know.
Don't they? They're very positioned. The President of the United States has taken an oath, to defend the principles of the Constitution, or defend the Constitution. And if he thought the Constitution was simply false, every political act implies knowledge. And not knowledge about these little things. I'm not talking about detailed prudential knowledge, but knowledge about principles. That it's better that you go to war, for freedom, than to become slaves and not go to war. That kind of thing. That's a tremendous kind of knowledge that every statesman is supposed to know.
That's kind of moral knowledge too, knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, surely. Moral and political knowledge. The political knowledge is that they know that they have the principles of justice, which is, justice is the term that I think combines political and moral in this regard. You see, and if he teaches young men that the statesmen don't know about good and bad, doesn't that raise a question about what he'd do to young people? You know, in relation to your earlier question, you see, and it is simply the fact, of course, that statesmen could not be statesmen if they didn't know these things, but no statesman has time to know them for himself, and maybe they're not accessible, such things. But you see, then the third one,